all of your dragon Pokemon. An excellent inbuilt engine there.
Absolutely. So we've got a deck we're used to seeing and kind of a mishmash of a few different decks from back in the day. So let's head on over and see which of these players are able to make the best use of these old cards. And it looks like we are going to be beginning following Ethan with his Garchomp Altaria or Fluffy Chomp deck.
And he does have a really nice start, actually. A few Ball Search cards, also that Gibble that he can kick off with. Looks like Chip's got two choices. It's either Jirachi EX or Execute. So lesser of two evils, throwing that Execute into the active position. Ethan picks up another level ball. Let's see the outcome of this dual ball first. And, oh dear.
That is not what you're looking for. Of course, that is one of the greatest Ball Search cards we've ever had. Flip 2 coins, get a basic for each heads. Double tails, though, that feels bad.
Yeah, I mean, his board would have just been absolutely insane, to be honest. With the double level ball on top, I mean, yeah, could have been way better. But for now, Ethan's going to be content with double Gibble and Swablu. Not too bad, all things considered. Chip can kick things off with an Ultra Ball. One of his mini goals throughout this game will be putting some Pokemon into that discard pile to power up the Vengeance attack. He does have two double colorless energies in his opening hand. One of them probably going to have to just be foddered away before Professor's research here. So I imagine he'll be attaching to his EV first.
It would seem silly to maybe discard both of them straight away. I wouldn't like that very much. We do see the Professor Research comes down. We've got another Eevee, and that's going to be it for Chip. He wants to attack with Flareon while discarding all his other Pokemon at the moment, and it's working quite nicely.
Ethan does have himself a Gabite. He's also got a couple Silver Bangles, which is increasing damage output, but not to any of Chip's Pokemon, I don't think, because they're both using one prizes this entire time. Ethan just debating whether or not to use that Dragon's Call before a supporter. Looks like he is going to pull out the Gabite, and means that he's pretty much foregoing an aggressive attack here, but it just means he can get more Gibbles into play and really start getting that setup rolling.
Absolutely. I mean, the reason otherwise would be to maybe if you hit a rare candy, you can Dragon's Call for the Garchomp, get the Garchomp straight away. But one of the things we see is kind of the chain of Gabites here. Gabite searches for Gabite, which searches for Gibble, and then next turn we're going to have multiple searches and really getting all of those Dragon Pokemon out nice and quickly. And we haven't seen too many full Dragon decks. This really is one of the kind of headline decks that is just full-on Dragon Pokemon and not much else. So I do like seeing it making a little bit of a comeback. Speaking of comeback, Tropical Beach to draw into. You got 7 cards in hand.
An excellent stadium that he can take advantage of here, especially for an evolving deck that takes those turns off. He could have just ended his turn, but instead he's going to get those additional cards straight away, which is fantastic for him. Back over to Chip now. He's got a ton of supporter cards. He needs to try and get 4 more Pokemon in the discard pile if he's going to take a knockout with Vengeance this turn. This Ultra Ball can't take any Pokemon targets, so it looks like he might be eyeing up an Espeon here instead. It can Shadow Ball, and that's enough to KO a Swablu thanks to its low 40 hit points. So a nice way to take some early pressure prizes here, and also gets a nice hand refresh. An evolution into that Flareon, and the Shadow Ball is going to take a nice KO here.
That's weird, because obviously the players don't know what each other are playing, you know, and being able to hit 40 to the bench, there are enough Pokemon that are within range there, but just having that Espeon as that great little tech to take out those Swablu really is, it's a nice little bonus. Chip didn't really know Ethan was going to be going for it, but I think he's got 1 copy in his deck just in case, and it worked out pretty nicely this time.
Yeah, one of the benefits of playing those evolutions is that you can weave them in a lot more casually. Ethan has a couple of... He definitely wants to Dragon Call first, I would say, before evolving up. Yeah, he spots that he can pull a free Pokemon out here. He probably wants to get an Altaria as well with his second Dragon Call. He's actually going to have 3 this turn. So he can establish... Well, pretty much get the Swablu out of range. And it also gives you a nice damage mod. Not going to be enough for Garchomp to use its first attack to take the knockout. So he's still committed to using the second attack of the Garchomp, the Dragon Blade, I think it's called. We are going to see the Junkarm here, going to grab himself a level ball, going to fire that off, and looks like he probably wants to get another Altaria established. He also does play Mr. Mime, so he can protect his bench Pokemon that way if he's not going to be knocking out the Espeon in 1 hit. It feels like if he's achieving this KO, though, you probably just want to grab the second Swablu for me.
There is very much an argument along those lines. I mean, he's got to think Chip is not playing more than one Espeon. That Espeon has got tech written all over it. So, but then again, does he know at this point that Chip's playing Yanmega? I know Yanmega's not coming out now, but there are multiple Pokemon that Chip can use, and maybe just having that Mr. Mime and going, you know what, no matter which Pokemon you get out, for the rest of the game, I feel pretty good and protected. I do like that. It gives you a little, comfortable feeling that things are going to be okay.
We are going to see Ethan. He's going to fire off a couple more Dragon Calls. The only part of your deck, really, that you can't find are those Swablues. He's going to go ahead and establish another Gibble by the looks of things here. He's going to put it down onto the bench. I actually kind of like having 2 Altaria up in this matchup. It means your 1 energy attack is able to knock out Flareons much more easily. But instead, he's going to just opt to get more of his main attackers into play. And he's going to evolve into another Garchomp here. Just a bit of protection around N, possibly. And he's going to go for the Mat Cut. It will remove the energy from Chip, even though it doesn't take the KO here. Just 10 damage shy right now.
And that is the problem. Those Altaria are brilliant, adding all of that damage, but like you see there, 2 Altaria would have got the KO on Espeon, would mean that you get a KO on Flareon when they come up in the future. Actually, only having 1 Altaria on the board, that is going to mess with the numbers as we go through this game. Chip looks like he's going to get a Yanma down here, so that is going to open up options for the future. Plays that Judge. It's going to give each player a new 4-card hand. Obviously, when you are attacking for free, if you can match hand sizes, Judge becomes a pretty gosh darn good option.
Yeah, especially because Chip had the Tropical Beach to fall back on as well. If he's just trying to buy some time here, he did draw back into a unit energy, or sorry, a blend energy, I should say. So he can Shadow Ball into the active position if he'd like to. Or he could just take the turn Tropical Beaching, filling up his hand, and just sort of leaving this Espeon in the active as a sacrificial Pokemon to try and increase that Vengeance damage output in later turns.
I do quite like that. I don't think that damage was going to be terribly relevant in the long run. I mean, Chip is clearly building up to bigger KOs, and it means he gets to attach without having to worry with double colorless energy, which is one of the awkward things with Flareon. So being able to get that double attachment is nice. The problem is you give Ethan an extra turn, and now Ethan gets an extra attachment. So even with the 1 Altaria out, that second attack is going to be absolutely money as we go through the game. And now, by the time this active Garchomp goes down, Ethan are actually going to have 2, or Ethan could potentially have a couple of Garchomp essentially ready to attack with 2 energy on subsequent turns, which is going to make things easy and potentially give time to get that other Altaria out.
Surprisingly, Ethan opts to hold on to the Colress. It could have given him, a ton of cards there, the maximum value possible with 2 full benches. Instead, just holding it, maybe just trying to feint a slightly weaker hand to maybe draw Chip into certain plays or put him off of an end, something like that. Chip is going to be able to Ultra Ball away. I think it was a couple Smeagol there. And he's eyeing up the Ditabolic Ditto here, which I believe just is essentially a pseudo-Wudo style effect where it limits your opponent's bench by 1.
Yeah, it does. Which is huge in this matchup. We've seen already, Ethan has already not got enough bench space with 5 bench spots. He wants an extra bench spot. So now he gets rid of the Mr. Mime, and maybe this works out well in the end. He KOs the Ditto and gets that extra bench space back and puts down an Altaria that he'd rather have. But certainly in the short term, that is not fun at all. So I love Chip going for the Ditto there. I think in some matchups like this, that Ditto absolutely earns its spot in the deck.
So Vengeance only doing 90 damage right now by the looks of that discard pile. It's kind of awkward to sort of send your Flareon into that active position knowing there's already that benched Garchomp with 2 energy attachments on it. So again, an awkward turn for Chip. He might fire off the Escape Rope here. It's only really useful if Ethan sends up one of the non-Garchomp targets. Otherwise, it's still a awkward play for him.
Absolutely. He's not going to get a KO. And this is the thing. If Ethan is getting KOs on the Flareon with Garchomp and not getting KO'd back, we're talking single prize decks. They've got 1 prize taken each. But here, it really comes down to the damage. Ethan needs either the double Altaria or the 2 energy attack. Chip just needs enough Pokemon in the discard pile. And really, whoever gets their version of that rolling faster really has to be the favourite here. So Chip gets the attack. He gets a bit of damage done with Vengeance, but that's not a KO, and then that means Ethan could maybe jump ahead a little bit here.
Yeah, Ethan is eyeing up. He still has that huge chorus, and he can also continue to Dragon Call, again, thinning his deck quite nicely there. Only a couple Swablu and an Altaria remaining in his deck. I imagine he'll just go for a large reload here with the Colress and continue to develop attachments. Choosing not to manually attach anywhere this turn. Just going to reload his hand first and see where it gets him. It does get him into the switch, which is excellent for him.
That's the one card he needs.
KO. Exactly.
Yeah, I love this, because now he's got the 2 energy Garchomp up. And again, now he's got essentially 2 energy attachments in addition to the 2 energy Garchomp. So he's got a 2 energy Garchomp. If that goes down, he's got a 2 energy Garchomp with an attachment, which means he can 3 turns in a row, even if Chip starts KOing, 3 turns in a row, he's got that 2 energy Garchomp. By that point, you've got to think there's going to be another Altaria down. So even looks like he's going to be able to keep up these KOs. Chip, he needs to get more Pokemon in the discard, but he also needs to think about, you know, getting another Flareon down and what happens when these 2 Flareon do both go down, because with single prizes here, this is going to take a few turns to end this game.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's, you know, you're a step behind right now. I think he's still shy of the KO on Ethan's active Pokemon. He's going to have to throw a few more into the discard pile this turn so that he can actually reach, and then it's down to you trying to disrupt Ethan at that point. So we do have the N coming in. Chip going to Junk Arm back that Ultra Ball just for extra discard fodder by the looks of things, hoping that he possibly could draw back into it from the other side of this N. We'll see if he gets any more Pokemon to discard.
I think there's 10 in the discard, so you're talking like 120 at the moment. He can discard that Smeargle, but is it 140 on the Garchomp?
Yeah, it's 140, I believe.
So I think... Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I think he's 10 damage short at the moment. He can then Ultra Ball and then use Junk Arm to discard the Pokemon he gets with Ultra Ball, leave himself with a 0-card hand and get the KO. It looks like that's exactly what he's going to do. That's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to do what you got to do in these spots. He feels that he's falling behind, can't afford to take another turn off. He just falls too far back in the prize race, so leaves him with not much, just in top deck mode, but for now, it's keeping him in the game, and that comp search, wow, what a great prize to take.
I mean, when you've got 1 card in hand, your 1 prize being a computer search, it means he can search any card next turn, so that is going to help. And we do see Ethan here doing what I was, or maybe not. Looks like he's thinking about benching that second Swablu, essentially saying, right, well, by the time I run out of 2 energy Garchomp, I'm going to have a second Altaria rolling. And then it looks like he's going straight for the Dragon Blade and basically going, I think I can take 4 KOs in a row. Can you, Chip? And looking at Chip's board at the moment, he's going to need a bit more.
Yeah, well, now he's in range of a KO. He's actually picked up the N here, so the only thing possibly better than the computer search play was actually just Nning, and he's found himself back into 4 cards. Unfortunately, playing
No, that's perfect.
That is perfect, actually, yeah. He can now freely retreat, go into the Yanmega, attack for 0, linear attack, and really punish the Swablu. I think it was the right play to put it down from Ethan, but Chip's found the way to take an easy knockout here.
Oh, absolutely, because bearing in mind, right, at the end, it worked perfectly that after playing a single card, which was the Yanmega, he'd get the KO. I think it's fair for Ethan to not have seen that coming. That was an unlikely series of events, so Chip catching up, and what he's done beautifully there is he's gotten a KO without putting a Flareon in harm's way. Chip is not doing as well keeping his attackers out as Ethan is, so getting a cheeky KO with a Yanmega, perfect.
This is a really awkward Professor Oak here. He didn't draw into any energy cards once again. Ethan is going to have to put back a few Swablu's now. You can see he's also targeting back more energy just for additional outs. And he's going to have to, again, use that dual ball. He can re-establish a Swablu. Thanks to the Altaria damage buff, he can take the KO in the active. But like we said, we need to see that second Altaria in play so that he can actually continue chaining knockouts with Mac Cut later down the line.
Yeah, and this is getting very awkward at this stage because he's missing too many energy. So now I've been talking excitedly about he's going to have double energy Garchomp all the game. But that kind of depended on him drawing into at least 1 energy every turn. And that's not where we are. Having said that, if we look at Chip's board, it's looking a little bit light at the moment. He's got himself an Eevee. In terms of attackers, that's it. That Execute isn't doing much good, and that Ditto is very much a tech to, you know, hurt Ethan's bench. So Chip is going to need to get some more Pokemon on the board at this stage, and it looks like we're going computer search. But if he goes for the Super Rod, what draw has he got?
Yeah, he's looking like he's just going to try and Super Rod and Beach back up, I guess.
It's got to be.
He's basically just run out of attackers at this stage. That is one of the downsides of Vengeance. You need to throw all your Pokemon into the discard pile just to get that damage working, but you still need to have enough to attack with, and he's just had an awkward sort of lack of chain of basics, not finding extra Yanmas, not finding enough Eevee and Flareon by the looks of things. He is just debating getting any more things into into his deck at this point. What's going to be the most useful for him? So his only Pokemon in his deck right now is a Yanmega. I don't think getting another Flareon makes too much sense outside of just giving yourself additional outs. But he's really just hoping that the KO that Chip can take will then take Ethan. You know, he's hoping that this one Flareon goes the distance, essentially.
It really is, because unfortunately, Ethan, he's got a KO this turn. He can just attack right now and take the KO, and that's going to put him down to one prize remaining. That Swablu, that easy prize, is now off the bench. So, if you look at Ethan's setup, he has got a very nice setup. This is one of those few Stage 2 decks where you just expect it to swarm the Stage 2. We got 3 Stage 2 Garchomps, 2 Stage 1 Altaria, and at this stage, it is just looking like Ethan is absolutely in control. Oh, and this is just mean. He's using computer search to grab an N, and he's going to put Chip down to a free card hand, undoing most of the good that Tropical Beach actually just went and did.
Interestingly, yeah, I actually really didn't like that decision. I would much prefer just him securing an energy, because he's 2 prizes away from winning, right? If you just grab an energy there, you basically can't lose the game. You just have your backup attachment on the bench, and you've got your 2 Stage 2s just attacking. Now it opens the door for Chip to take a KO, and then there'll just be no response. And Chip does draw into a Flareon from this N. Just an immediate Vengeance, no other actions needed. Takes that KO, and now it's actually Ethan who's in top deck mode.
Absolutely. And see, that's the thing. When you're ahead in the game, sometimes it is better to just go, you know what? I'm not going to disrupt you. You do you. Essentially, I'm not really worried what you do at this stage. I'm far enough ahead that I'm just going to worry about me. And now, he's basically stuck. He can do... Well, how much damage is he doing? He's got 2 Altaria out, right?
Yeah, just no energy attachments.
Yeah, so he is doing 100, but... Oh, if he flips double heads here... Oh, that was a cheeky play. He wanted to hit double heads to have enough ammo to actually discard with computer search to get the energy for the win. Didn't work, but he did get the Tropical Beach. So
does Chip have... He doesn't look like he has any ways to disrupt Ethan. He was able to top back up with that Tropical Beach. So, again, Chip just has to roll that dice, hit Vengeance. This time, though, Ethan does finally have the last energy to close out this game.
So a lot closer than it looked like it was going to be a little while in, but in the end, Garchomp with that Mat Cut does have just enough to pull out what ended up being a very tight, nerve-wracking game towards the end. It looked there like Ethan was threatening to run away with it, but a couple energy attachments missed, and all of a sudden, Chip's right back in there.
Yeah, one of those things where both players were stumbling at different points. Chip running out of attackers, Ethan running out of energy. And it's not as easy as just going back and forth, taking a guaranteed prize into one another. There's a ton that both players can do to make it awkward for the opponents. Things like that Ditto coming into play, the Yanmega coming into play from Chip. A lot of tricks up his sleeve, really. Whereas Ethan's just trying to build up his board, get as many Stage 2s rolling as possible. And those Altarias, as we saw, super important by the later stages because it allows you to use 1 energy map cuts to finish the game.
Absolutely. It's that age-old Pokemon TCG question of tech versus consistency. We've got Ethan here going for a full-on consistent Garchomp deck with almost no tricks whatsoever. And then Chip's like, one of these, a couple of those. Let's do this. And it's 2 decks that I have loved over the years. So let's head on over to Game 2 and see if we can have a little bit of a reversal. See if Chip can do just enough. We are not like we were, in some other games we've watched. This game really could go either way.
Yeah, exactly. Chip's by no means out of it. This feels like a very balanced matchup. Chip does start off a lot better this time with a Smeargle rather than an Execute, which is excellent for him. He's also going to get the benefit of a Mulligan here as well, which is pretty nice. And he also has the option of Jirachi GX on his end for his own choice of supporter. Looks like Ethan is going to be the player going second. Chip is just going to go ahead and Portrait. He wants a new hand. He selects N. He wouldn't have minded, I don't think, a Professor Juniper there, just to throw a bunch of Pokemon into the discard pile. That's one of the benefits of Portrait. It's one of these abilities that poker powers that comes with a drawback, right? Because you have to use whatever is in your opponent's hand. But Flareon actually enjoys extra discard fodder a lot of the time. So Chip is able to, from this N that Ethan gave him, he's able to develop a couple basics, which is really nice. And he's actually put Ethan in a slightly awkward position, again, sort of needing the help of Dual Ball here.
Absolutely. And we see, double heads. Well, that's a little bit different to the previous game now.
Needs that redemption, yeah.
It evens out in the end. I love benching that Yanma here because he knows that Ethan is going to be relying on those Swablu. So getting the Yanma down really does give a nice option of potentially getting a Yanmega and, just getting early KOs. We saw that Flareon became a little bit of a pain as the game wore on, just trying to keep it rolling. So taking some easy, quick, cheeky KOs with Yanmega could be good. But Ethan is, of course, reacting to that, getting that Mr. Mime down sooner rather than later.
And it looks like Ethan is debating whether or not to play down the Tropical Beach. He saw that it didn't only help him last game, also did help Chip at times. And rather than chorusing just for 5 cards, he's instead going to top his hand up with Beach here.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad play at all. I like where he's going with that. We do see the Yanmega coming down for Chip. No way to get out the active yet, unless he wants to manually retreat, which would be a lot of energy used. So it looks like we're going to see another Portrait here. And again, no matter what he hits, he's going to be feeling all right. There's a Chorus, and that's going to get him a nice little new hand of cards.
Yeah, I think that's 5 cards for him here.
Yeah.
Not too shabby. A nice refresh here, as you say, looking for Floatstone. Does find himself Escape Rope, so he can force something up. He can use Sonic Boom with anything to take a KO, but oh no, there's he can't match hand sizes this turn, so he'll probably just be Tropical Beaching here.
Yeah, unfortunately, after that, he's play a couple of cards and it all goes wrong. But he's got a nice board setup. He's starting to get going quite nicely. And the key thing is, Ethan hasn't taken a KO, and it really doesn't look like he's going to this turn. So as long as Chip can get a KO next turn, he's not going to be feeling too bad about this at all.
Ethan is going to go ahead and develop his next Gibble, and as you say, rather than chorusing, looking for some aggressive rare candy plays, it would just be too much to try and hit all off of one chorus. So instead, going to forego that, go ahead and Dragon Call out an Altaria here. He can evolve onto the bench, and then he might just be using Tropical Beach once again to top up here.
That's not a bad play. He's got Dragon Call on the board. He's got a lot of stuff already rolling, so I like that play. Taking it a little easy, knowing that you've got a lot of options next turn. Now, we do see a Floatstone from Chip there, which is lovely, and that means that he is... is he going to be able to match hand sizes? Not yet, but an N will put both of them to a 6-card hand, so if he doesn't play any more cards, he will be able to retreat and take a KO with that Yanmega.
Looks like he's going for a Junk Arm play here. Definitely risky. It's one of those things where you have to think about what your opponent plays in terms of supporters and how you can actually square things up. Is it worth the risk of Portrait? Looks like Chip not going to take any risks here. I like just initiating this race personally. Just go ahead, get the value of Yanmega while you can, and take this knockout.
I think there's too much he likes in his hand. I mean, hitting a Professor Oak's New Theory or an N or a Juniper, assuming you can play one card, would match hand sizes. But if he hits a Juniper there, he runs into the issue of he loses both those Junk Arm and he loses an energy. And it would have been a lot to throw away if he did hit that Juniper. So, no, I'm with you there. I like that he just takes the KO, goes ahead, and now Chip's in that great position. If he just takes a KO every turn, he is going to win the game.
Ethan is able to establish double Altaria, which means he can have his attackers lined up basically for the remainder of the game, like we saw at the latter stages of Game 1. He's also able to Dragon Call out another Gibble here, so his board state looking pretty solid on this side in this game too. He's going to be response KOing as well. He's holding on to energy. I don't think he really needs to play this Oak. I think he's got everything he needs for next turn. He kind of agrees and is just going to go for the Dragon Blade here.
Yeah, I love that. The Dragon Blade gets the KO. He's got the double Altaria rolling. He's got Garchomp ready to go in future turns. I really like this. I like the setup he's got. And it seems like both players are doing a better job establishing their board and getting rolling this game. You see Chip's got 2 Eevee down, each of which has that double colorless energy ready to go. He's got a Drifloon down. Drifloon, of course, is going to punish Ethan for playing special energy, and he does play a bunch of special energy. So there's a lot going on here that both players are going to be able to take advantage of. It looks like a Junk Arm for an Ultra Ball.
Yeah, he's once again, he just doesn't have enough discards right now. There's only, I think, 3 Pokemon or 4 Pokemon in his discard pile. That Garchomp just too tanky in this format for the Flareon at this stage. We could potentially see still the Portrait here, but unfortunately not going to hit any targets.
Oh.
Ethan does draw into Energy, which is basically all he needs next turn, so he's happy. But Chip, yeah, he's not doing enough to this Garchomp, so Ethan could be flying ahead in the second game.
Absolutely. It is looking, but Chip's board was looking quite nice, but now at this stage, he hasn't got the discard, he hasn't got a non-Flareon attacker, so, I mean, is he going to use Drifloon to try and strand an Altaria in the active, maybe?
He's looking at Tickle. He's looking at Tickle. He's trying to flip that.
Oh, it's
Paralyze.
Tickle!
Oh, heartbreaking. You have to try it. I actually respect that from Chip as well. Even though, that additional guaranteed 4 cards gives him a lot of value, he can see how things went wrong last game. He just slipped too far behind in the prize race. He knows that Ethan had that backup fighting energy and even top decks the Professor Juniper. That's adding salt to the wound as Chip wasn't able to use it himself, and then straight away Ethan has a new hand on his side. Is able to evolve up into Garchomp. He has another Dragon Call if he wants to. For now, though, just going to Mat Cut instead and take an easy KO here and goes up another prize.
Yeah, I like that. He's doing everything he needs to do, and Ethan's kind of got to that point with a Garchomp deck where it really is just, can I attach an energy every turn? Because if he can, he is going to be in a great position. Double Altaria, we saw it didn't work brilliantly in game 1. We saw how important it was. Double Altaria is on the board. We do see Smeargle hitting a Professor Oak's new theory, which is nice, but it looks like Chip is going to have to try something a little bit more here because he is not really in a position to start taking big KOs. And at this stage, Ethan really is going to be taking a KO every turn, and that is going to add up over the course of the next couple of turns.
Yeah, the damage is 70 as it stands. He could go up to 90 with the Junk Arm. He does have an Escape Throat, but Ethan evolving up into that backup Garchomp on the bench is going to pretty much make that a little bit awkward anyway. So Chip falling a little bit behind in this game.
And it does. His board, again, is not looking for the setup. I played so much Flareon in so many different formats, and one of the things you find with Flareon is, and here comes a Ditto to get rid of a bench space. Could have been a Mr. Mime, you would imagine. Yeah, there we go. And one of the things you find with Flareon is you have got to get the Pokemon in the discard early, and if you don't, and we've seen that 2 games in a row from Chip, you end up in this weird position where you could get a KO if this happened and if that happened, but you're not hitting weakness. Silver Bangle isn't doing anything for you. So he puts a Ditto in the active, uses Tropical Beach, and basically chooses to go down by, well, another prize.
And this board state is just hard to cope with. There's already 3 Garchomps ready to rumble. Another prize being taken this turn. Ethan reloading with that Professor Oak as well. There's really nothing else he needs. He can just keep announcing Mat Cuts at this point. Plenty of cards remaining in his deck as well. So no issues for him whatsoever, really. He can just start churning through Chip's Ditto here. Opens up his board space again. Not that it's super important at this stage. But yeah, it's a tough comeback for Chip now.
Yeah, I mean, Chip starting this turn basically needs to KO Garchomp 3 turns in a row and hope that in the intervening period, Ethan doesn't get another Garchomp rolling. That's essentially how Chip wins. Ethan needs to attack 3 times to win. He's got 3 Garchomp out. So if he just gets unless Chip gets rid of all of them and Ethan can't replace them, Ethan is just going to take a prize every turn. And I don't know if Chip's deck has got anything which could really slow him down enough.
And just counting the Pokemon there, looking at the tanky hit points of Garchomp, Chip really in a tough spot here. He's going to go ahead and grab Floatstone by the looks of things from that Junk Arm. Going to commit it to Smeargle. Just going to hit that Vengeance. 110, still not enough. And Ethan, with those double Altarias in play, he's got just the ideal board state. There's no other way we can put it here. He doesn't need anything. He just, plays the Professor Oak here, looking for energy. Doesn't come, but not a huge issue for him. There's no panic here. He has time on his side. He can just simply Mat Cut through this and, go once again an extra prize ahead.
He literally doesn't need anything. He has got 3 attackers set up. all of which can take a KO on anything Chip puts active, and he's got 3 prizes remaining to win the game, and he's now up by 3. So we've kind of reached that point in the game where I honestly don't really know what Chip does from here, because even if he starts getting KOs, and, you know, Chip knows as well as we do, you look at the board state in this position, and you start trying to predict, you start trying to play the next few turns in the head for both you and your opponent, and you go, well, I KO a Garchomp, but he KOs me back. Or then I can KO another Garchomp, yeah, but then he wins the game. So you need to look for something else, and I don't think there's really anything in Chip's deck that gives him that something else.
How many tickles do we need to hit heads? That's the question. That's what I'm asking myself right now.
Okay, I take it back. If he can hit so many tickle until Ethan decks out, he could win.
Yeah, but when you're at that stage, like you say, it's a grim state of affairs.
I mean, I kind of want to see that now. I just want to see tickle after tickle. It's like, well, I'm going to lose if I vengeance, so I'm just going to tickle you, see if I can tickle my way to victory.
All right, we do see Chip. He does go ahead, get that vengeance KO. We know that Ethan immediately has that response. He even finds another energy attachment that he can put down. I actually kind of like holding this energy attachment just in case there's any rope plays or anything like that that could be awkward for him for paying retreat. But I can also see just attaching it. Also going to play that N, reducing Chip's hand size again. And yeah, pretty much just chilling, going through the motions because he's just 2 attacks away and they're both pretty much just established on the board at this stage.
Absolutely. We do see some more, another dual ball here. Essentially, what's just happening, Ethan is thinning out his deck, basically going, look, I don't think Chip can win from here. I don't think there's anything he can do, but I'm just going to try and make sure I've got absolutely everything sorted. I'm going to try and make sure that there is nothing Chip can do. I mean, in theory, maybe the Eevee turns into an Espeon, and maybe that Espeon KO Swablu, but that doesn't really get Chip any closer to winning the game, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it's basically, I think it's tickles your way to win at this stage. But even then, Ethan has a far larger deck size than Chip at the moment. So it's looking pretty grim at this stage.
It's not looking ideal. We do see the junk arm there for, it was going to get Super Rod. No, it is going to be a Super Rod. No, it's not going to be a Super Rod. It is going to be an Escape Rope. It is going to be an Escape Rope. But the problem is, Ethan can just... I mean, you can basically just put anything. He's only got 1 prize remaining to take, so you just put the other Garchomp up, and you're like, if you don't KO, I'll win with this. If you do, I'll win with the other one. Oh, I do like seeing Driftblim come out here, though. Although it does look like... Oh, he's going to drop
placement. Yeah. Taking a prize, acknowledging that the board state is just too strong on Ethan's side. All it needs is the announcement of Dragon Blade to take that final prize, and a very convincing 2-0 there for the Fluffy Chomp deck.
The first game was very, very close between those 2 players. The second game, not as much. And we've seen this over the course of the history of the Pokemon trading card game. These consistent decks that are just good on the face of it. If you can just make them set up, you win. There was nothing really going on in Ethan's deck other than exactly what happened. He was using Dragon Call, setting up Altaria and